Please note that today's meeting may be recorded. Can I welcome you all, first of all, to the Sustainable Scrutiny Committee in Merthyr Tydfil, Tuesday the 21st of October. Please note that today's meeting may be recorded. This recording will be broadcast on the authority's website and may be used for training purposes by the Democratic Services Department. All attendees will be in view of the camera, and by attending, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings being used as outlined above. Could I please ask all officers and guests who are joining remotely to turn off their cameras so that only councillors, lay members or cooperative members are on screen. You're asked to turn on your camera when presenting reports or responding to questions, but please turn them back off after your item has been finished. Right, if I could start the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Just Gary Thomas.
We've had apologies for Gary Thomas. No other apologies. Item 2, direct declaration of interest. Members are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in the agenda in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government and Finance Act 1992 relating to council tax, the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. Members are reminded they must identify the item number, subject matter that their interest relates to and simplify the nature of the personal interest. And B, where members withdraw from a meeting as a consequence of the disclosure of a prejudicial interest, they must notify the chair when they leave. Are there any matters of declaration of interest? No, not. We'll go on to reports, and that leads us to item 5. Sorry, no, I beg your pardon. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting, which is you'll find on page 5, 6, and 7. There, that's the minutes of Tuesday, the 16th of September. These are for accuracy. Are you all happy, or those that were present, for the accuracy of the minutes?
I move the minutes, yeah.
Is there a seconder to that?
Yes, Chair, I second that.
Thank you. All those in favour that we approve the minutes, please show by virtually hand or otherwise. Okay, thank you. Those minutes are approved. And item 4 is the action logs, to receive an update on actions on the previous meetings. That's pages 9 to 14. And these are up to date. There's nothing to further update us. Neil, is it?
No, only the one main sort of action is outstanding with regards to some information from the last performance report, which we're liaising with the relevant director on that and update you as soon as we can.
Yeah. Okay, any queries on the action logs? Anyone? No? Not. Let me go to item 5 under the heading reports, and that's the Corporate Asset Management Plan Annual Update Report. Consider the attached report, and it's pages 15 to 76. Lisa, do you want to introduce this, or Anna, whichever's going to do it?
I'll introduce Clive, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the Corporate Asset Management Plan provides a strategic overview of how Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council is managing its land, buildings and other assets to ensure they're efficient, sustainable and aligned with our wider corporate priorities. So it focuses on how our asset base supports service delivery. And this update recognises that significant progress has already been made in a number of areas, and completed actions include improved data collection and asset condition assessments, greater integration of asset management with service planning, and continued rationalisation of our underused or surplus properties, with fuller details being included at section 5.2.1 of the report and also within Appendix 2 and 3. The updated strategy in full sits at Appendix 1. This updated position provides a solid foundation for the next phase of work. As members will see, the plan takes us up to 2038. Key themes highlighted in the report include asset condition and utilisation, strategic alignment, i.e. ensuring that the estate supports priorities such as service transformation, regeneration and decarbonisation, financial management, exploring the opportunities for cost savings or income generation, and to provide context to the work being undertaken within the corporate asset management plan, details of the relevant disposal policies and community organisation rental policy are provided at Appendices 4 and 5 respectively. The report also highlights in section 7.2 the need to develop a business case to reinstate corporate property, which will be key to addressing capacity and budgetary issues and to improving the management of building maintenance, particularly in the case of reducing the existing maintenance backlog. In terms of next steps, once this report has been discussed today, any issues will be addressed and reported to Cabinet for consideration. Thank you to Lisa for her work on this area and for authoring the report. Lisa, as well as other key officers from across the organisation, as requested by the committee, are available to answer questions on the report. Thank you, Chair. Just for information, as someone online, I can't see the full list of people who are attending, so I don't know whether you want to do quick introductions of who's online and available to answer.
Yeah, well, yes, I can see a number there. We've got a few officers there. I think most of the relevant officers are there on screen, Anna. Did you want to know who they were?
No, if the committee's happy and it's all visible to everyone and there's clarity on who's available, thank you.
As far as I can see, all the available officers are there. I think that there's nobody here from education, is there?
Yes, Susie.
Oh, Susie.
Yeah, right. I can see a bit more on my screen as well,
Yeah.
so I'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Lisa Emerson, did you wish to add anything to what cabinet members said?
No, I think Anna covered that really well, so there's nothing else that I want to raise at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Right. What I'm going to do, because there's so many pages of the report, I'll just take you to the overarching report first of all, on page 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and ask anyone if they've got any questions on the overarching report.
Chair, can I ask a question on
Yeah.
page 17? It's a bullet hole on the first one. It says, building now linked to the building management system, but no current funding for expansion. So we're promising people this, but we've got money to carry them out when it comes out. Because this is a long term and not short term, it's a long term issue. But would we get the money if we promise people?
Right. Who would like to answer that one?
Try and have that.
Wait a minute. Craig is here.
Can you clarify, sorry, Councillor Smith, which bullet point you referred to?
Sorry, I missed that.
Can you just clarify which bullet point you referred to? Sorry,
Oh,
Councillor
it's
Smith.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 down on page 17.
All right. I can see it. Look, 40 buildings now linked to the building management system. No current funding or expansion.
With regards to any additional budget requirement, that'll be considered in the full budget round and affordability. Obviously, it's key that we continue to maintain our assets to an appropriate condition, but we'd have to consider that within the finite resources we have available with us and the prioritisation for that.
Can we put that in wording somewhere down here for people to know that if it happens, it can happen, and if we haven't got the funding, it won't happen?
Well, we can make it with it. It'll be in the minutes. We'll be in the minutes, Bill.
Well, I agree there, Clive, but people read it besides the minutes and all that, but some just
You
look
want-
at the report, don't
You want it expanded a bit. That
Yeah, but tell people, no, if we haven't got it, we can't do it. That's what's happening now, isn't it? People are not telling people, oh, we do it in 18 months, but it'll take over 3 years.
I see no reason why we couldn't expand that, with a few extra words on there, appropriate wording. All right.
Thank you very much.
Craig will take that up and put in the appropriate wording after that. Okay. Any other questions on the overarching report?
So with that, up to Andrew Barry.
All right. Councillor Barry?
Thank you, Chair. It's just within the body of the plan, really. Am I right in thinking that the maintenance backlog is £43 million? Is that right, Craig?
Yes, that is the current position, and it's the position that was reported to a previous scrutiny committee with regards to backlog of maintenance. We have looked at where our maintenance costs are sitting, the backlog of works, and the responsibility of that between local authority and school's responsibility. So we have got that. Obviously, that is a significant cost of works to be completed over a 5-year priority period. So it wouldn't be required in year one. It would be over a plan over a number of years. But those costs would have to be financed, and the same with regards to the current funding position that local authorities find. The cost for that to address those backlog works would be done by borrowing, with a significant revenue cost that would have to be incurred going forward. But yeah, 43 million is the backlog of works that is reported and recorded by our property teams.
And if I could, thank you, Craig. If I could, Chair.
I think sorry, Councillor Barry, just to add to that. A lot of those backlog works are detailed, as I say, as 43 million. It's also the capacity issue with regards to the team and able to take forward those works. So it's a capacity issue and a budget funding issue as well that needs to be addressed to take that forward.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could, Chair. I'm disappointed within the report that it doesn't highlight of the assets that we've got what is related to statutory provision and what is not. Because what is outside statutory provision then clearly would become a priority to dispose of. Looking at the costs, I would have thought it would be prudent to look at it in those terms. And it talks about all assets, like we've got to do this. And quite simply, if we dispose of assets that aren't statutory related, then clearly that reduces our asset responsibility and certainly reduces the maintenance backlog financial requirement as well. So have we got anything this is to Lisa, I suppose, Chair, have we got any priority in terms of disposal and any guidance from you in terms of that statutory and non-statutory provision of our assets that we can look at?
So the backlog maintenance figure is in relation to all of our built assets. We have very, very few surplus properties at the moment. So the bulk of that figure is going to relate to our operational properties. Now, the bulk of those are educational properties. So in terms of statutory provision, I guess our leisure properties would sit outside of that. So that is a corporate sort of discussion to have. But certainly from our condition surveys, we can split all that data into the types of property, the types of work that is required, and also the priorities within each of those surveys. So yes, we can split that information, into however, anybody wants to see it really. And I understand what you're saying in terms of statutory provision, but these costs are relating to all our operational properties. Very few of them are surplus.
And just one other, if I can, Chair. Thank you, Lisa. In terms of the assets we have, is there any repurposing provision of those assets that we could look at?
Again, I suppose that's a corporate sort of discussion at service level. So in terms of, the properties, like I said, very few of them are surplus at the moment. Where the services can be delivered in a different way to release additional property, that's something that needs to be considered as part of our operational plan going forward.
Lovely. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, before I call in Councillor Smith, just to follow up on one of your questions, Councillor Barry, and that's the capacity issue. Can someone tell me, when we talk about capacity, how many officers, how many staff we're talking about? And is it, for example, only in property services?
This particular report is looking at both property and estates. And we're looking at how we can bring forward a business case. We look to the efficient and effective delivery of both of those. So a business case is being developed. It's at its final stage, and when that is in a state that we can bring that forward, then that will come to full council for consideration, as we've done with previous business cases around building control and engineering departments. So that's the business case that's been developed at the moment. We want to obviously be in a robust position to bring that business case forward. But that would mean that there would be additional resources being requested to be funded through the core budget.
Well, either another member or myself will ask a further question later on, because it does affect how we deal with statutory obligations, things that we must check and make sure everything is as it should be. I'll bring in Councillor Smith. Got a question.
Thank you, Chair. On page 33, it says about the new schools. We building one at the moment on the old Goldra Pond up in Lagunas. And they've got a classroom there for pre-nursery, early years learning. What's going to happen to the old building opposite the shops and in Gunas if that's empty? Is that going to dispose of what you're going to say, or are you going to do something else? Do anybody know what's happening to that yet?
Is it okay if I come in there, Chair?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we are having conversations about that, Councillor Smith. Obviously, there will be an early years site setting on the new Goitra site, and we're looking at how that will impact on the community centre. And we've had conversations with MVH about looking at the land and looking at how we utilise the mugger on there. So there are lots of conversations going on, and we can bring back further information when we're taking that through.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Gareth Richards.
Chair, you taking questions on the appendix?
No, I should have explained. Councillor Smith came in too quickly for me. We're just dealing with the overarching report, then we'll go to the index. The index is in numbered 1 to 6. So that's how we'll deal with it.
Can I just pop to my front door? I think I'm expecting a delivery and it's arrived.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay. I've got a question, if nobody else has got any questions on the overarching report. It's under the heading ongoing, and it's the 9th dot down. It specifically refers to new solar PV systems installed at 3 schools and the projected savings of 490,000, which is quite a significant sum of money. Do we have a program of these solar PV systems being installed in all the other schools? Because clearly, with the deficits we've got in quite a few of our schools, that's going to assist with the ongoing problems with the deficits. So I don't know who can answer that question, but it begs an answer for the other schools as well.
Yeah, do you want me to come in there, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so yeah, we've had a rolling programme of solar PV now for probably around six years, and I would say around 80-ish% of our school buildings have got solar PV on, or the buildings that have got suitable roofs have got solar PV. In terms of any allocated funding, we get £100,000 per year via the capital pot, and we also use Salex interest-free loans. So yeah, wherever possible, we're trying to put solar PV on our buildings. We are getting to the point where we're struggling to find some suitable roofs. For example, well, we know we could put solar PV on Aberfan Community Centre possibly, and 2 or 3 other schools, potentially the bus station. But we are getting to a stage where we've done quite a lot of solar, and we're struggling for roof space.
Right. Okay, well that's interesting, because you're talking about 80% of buildings. You just talking about schools there, or all the council buildings?
I would say, our main council buildings, maybe discounting like the changing rooms, for example, but the business case is quite poor for them.
Yeah. Okay, and it begs another question in view of your answer, Ian. And I know we've got a programme of operating panels, etc., on our leisure buildings. Have we got any solar panels, for example, on the Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Centre, which is quite a sizable building?
Yeah, we've had 50 kilowatts on there for I think it's around 50 kilowatts since 2013, and then we put 150 kilowatt array on around a year ago as part of the the Transforming Towns work, refurbishing the pool. So yeah, we've got a fairly sizable array on there. Potentially we could put a bit more on, but we don't. With the solar PV, you've got to be careful with the sizing, because you can end up putting too much on and you end up exporting or generating more energy than what you need. So it's a bit of a fine balance. But yeah, we've got quite a bit on Merthyr Leisure Centre now. Right.
So you've got practically quite the majority of what you could do is already been done then at the Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Centre.
Yeah, we could probably put an extra 30 kilowatt on, I would say, a little bit more, possibly. But yeah, there's quite a lot on there already.
Thank you, Ian, very much. Councillor Barry?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just want to quickly go back to the maintenance backlog, the 43 million, just for a bit of clarity, really. That's an enormous amount of money. And you said earlier, Craig, that we'd clearly need to sort of finance that. We're not talking about the 43 million as a whole, or are we spreading that over the medium-term financial plan? So how does that scheduling look in terms of financing that? Have we got any idea at the moment?
I haven't got that available at this moment in time. Obviously, we did say it would be over a 5-year programme if that was what the decision was to fund it through any additional borrowing. I think that decision hasn't been made at this stage, Councillor Barry. So no, I haven't got that information to hand.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, right. Any other questions on the Councillor Richards? Yeah.
Follow up really from what Councillor Barry has requested. I don't know if we've got the answer today, but has that figure increased substantially recently, or has it been a figure which has been around for some time? If you'll get that information to us, please, if you haven't got it available.
All right. Yeah, we'll get that to all the members when you've got it, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that, Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, okay. Right, try again. Any other questions on the overarching report? If not, we'll then go on to the index. So rather than, go back and forth, because there's quite a few pages, I've just quote the page number, carry on from there. So it's page, if you want to ask a question, just shout out as I call the pages. So it's 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, a bit lower, slower if you could, please.
Sorry?
A bit slower if you could, please.
Sorry. I beg your pardon. Start again. Page 22, 23, 24.
Chair, sorry to interrupt again. I've got different page number into you. I'd rather speak on the headings as we go through if we can.
All right. Okay. Right. Well, I'll start with the strategic context and leadership. Right? That starts at page 23. Okay?
Yeah.
Page. Okay, Gareth?
Yeah.
Got it? Page 23, strategic context and leadership. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. On that page there, under the heading, so on page 28, under the heading Asset Portfolio, there are some figures there referring to the number of land assets, total number of buildings. It says the total number of buildings is 362. And either Chris, Jones, or Lisa could probably answer this one. The 362 total number of buildings, that's everything, like changing rooms, on pitches. Am I right? That it literally includes everything that we've got.
That's correct. It's every building, and actually on some of our sites, so you'll appreciate on some of our bigger sites, some of the largest schools, there'll be more than one block, so they are counted individually. So it sounds like a high number,
Right.
but at Cyfarthfa Park, for example, there will be quite a few individual buildings.
Right. That does explain it then, because I thought there was quite a high number. But any blocks that we've got, for example, I suppose, on an educational site would be classified as one building. Yep.
That's correct.
Ah, right. Okay. And lower down the page, while you're there, Lisa, same page, there's a little table there. When it's split up the neighbourhood services down to leisure, culture and environment. It's got social services, and these are in percentages. It's got social services is 1. Can you clarify why that is 1%?
Yes, so that first pie chart relates to land. Okay,
Right.
so in terms of the land area, social services hold very little of it. Most of the land will be made up of, parks and open spaces and that sort of thing. That's why the neighbourhood services area is quite large.
Yeah.
The next pie chart then actually shows the percentage of the building flow area. So you'll notice that that's made up quite differently, because the bulk of that will be education and schools.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. You've explained that on page 28 and page 29. So I'm still going through page by page. Any questions on page 29? No. Page 30. Then we come on to page 31, heading major projects. Included in that page is the capital programme and sustainable communities for learning programme. Any questions there? No. Page 32. Page 33. Page 34. Page 35. Page 36. Page 37. And I'll ask a question if there's nobody else there at the moment on page 37. Top of the page, condition survey programme. And it says the first sentence, a comprehensive and holistic condition survey programme has been undertaken for all schools and education buildings over 3 financial years between 2021-24. These were undertaken as part of the wider 5-year rolling corporate programme across all local authority buildings 21 to 26. The surveys of schools, education buildings requires an assessment of suitability for learning with respect to the building and surrounding environment, as well as assessing the property condition. This is a question for Sue. And I'm sure you're expecting this one from me. I've got a query. It's not. Can't see it mentioned here. But under what used to be called the 21st century schools, it's now got a convoluted name that nobody can remember. In respect of Carmarthen Park Primary, with a split-site school, and you've got the older building, Norman Terrace, which is at least 120 years old. But I don't see that in any programme in the next 5 years, or I don't think in the next 10 years. So how do we deal with that when we've got the one part of the school is a reasonable modern building, much more modern than the one in Norman Terrace, but the other half of the school, they're having to work in a building that's over 120 years old.
I think it's not so much the age of the building, Councillor Jones, it's actually the quality of the building, which actually the governors and the head teacher have worked hard to keep that school in good condition.
Yes.
We are undertaking currently a planning of school places review, and that will be go into the education scrutiny and then come into council before the end of this municipal year, which will look at places across the county borough, taking into account the LDP and taking into account any changes that we have to make for schools. We are currently still we've got a lease on the Norman Terrace build, which there isn't a break clause in at the moment for a couple of years. So whilst it's not in at the moment, it's not to say it's off the table, but at the moment there are other priorities, and as you're aware, our capital programme is very, very tight.
Yeah.
So it's it's not off. It's not part. It isn't part of our programme moving forward, but it will always be a consideration as to how we manage that. But again, land is tight in Merthyr, and it's where we would actually put it. So it's more likely to be dealt with under the planning of school places than under anything else, Councillor Jones.
Right. Thank you very much, Sue. That does explain it to me in an up-to-date explanation. Thank you. Anything else on page 37? No. Page 38. Is any question on page 38? On the very bottom of that page, under the heading Merthyr Town Centre Regeneration, it says, and I quote, physical regeneration projects identified delivery include housing developments, both market and affordable, the land south of the college, Merthyr Tydfil College redevelopment. Can I ask what is earmarked possibly for the land south of the college? Have I missed something there? Who's going to answer that question? Anyone?
I'm happy to come in on that, and I don't know if Zoe perhaps wants to.
Yeah, sorry, Lisa, I couldn't get in quick.
But you're there now.
Apologies, I had to accept the video. Currently, there hasn't been nothing earmarked for that site in particular. It is being considered as part of wider development, but there isn't anything specific that we've identified at this point in time. But we've included it on the list of projects as a potential for consideration as part of our wider regeneration programme delivery.
Right. And to make sure I got it right, you're talking about the very large car park, which is at the one side of the college. Am I right?
No.
Right.
At the not adjacent to the college. It's the one further down between the college and EE.
Right. Okay. Right. You clarify that.
Yeah. So the car park will remain as is.
Right.
Adjacent to the college. I mean, sorry.
Remind me, have we got anything in the local development plan for that particular parcel of land you talked about?
No, there's no allocation at the moment, no.
Right, okay, Judy, thank you. Still in the same paragraph, after the word in land south of the college, Merthyr Tydfil College redevelopment, YMCA, St Tidwell's Hospital site, General Hospital, and further enterprise buildings on the success of Hopefields and Coco's at the bottom of town. There was no mention there, which is a bit of a surprise to me, as it's in the town centre, of the Miners' Hall, or for that matter, the Theatre Royal, which is still, I regard, as in the town centre area. And I would have thought those two buildings particularly could have and should have been mentioned in that paragraph. Any particular reason for that?
There's no particular reason why they aren't included, other than the fact that at that point in time, there was sort of no further progress being made or no discussions being held on those buildings, Chair. I appreciate we have a report come into a separate scrutiny committee on those 3 buildings where we will be providing updates. I'm happy to work with Lisa to amend the plan if possible to include those 2 properties, and if that's not possible now, to most definitely when we have the opportunity to amend the report to include them moving forward.
Yeah, I welcome that, and I think they should be amended and included in the under the heading Merthyr Town Centre regeneration. Okay, thank you for that. There are no questions on others on page 38. Page 39.
Yes,
Any questions there?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
It's in relation to the transport infrastructure. Is there any update on the work connecting the bus station with the train station? There's reference to summer of 25 within the report.
Yes, so currently, as you're all aware, there is a demolition scheme taking place at the bottom of town adjacent to Howfields. The demolition scheme is currently taking longer than anticipated due to the sensitive nature of the work adjacent to retained properties. So completion on the demolition programme is anticipated at the end of 2025. What we'll be looking at then as a regeneration team is a new scheme planned for next financial year, subject to funding, which will look at public realm works connecting bus and rail, and some further potential building enhancement works within that area as well. But that will all come to fruition once that work is completed.
Thanks, Zoe.
And just to further put a question on that, when the buildings have already been demolished, I think there's boarding around it at the moment. So just to clarify as to what it exactly would look like, when they get off the train station, because the station I think is going to be refurbished at some time, there will be directional signs taken. If somebody comes in to visit the Merthyr Tydfil for the first time, they come off the train, and I presume there'll be signs leading down from the pathway and the steps there. I don't know, somewhere across where these buildings have been demolished, taking them, I presume, through the side of High Street Church to the bus station. Is that the actual plan?
So we'll be looking at wayfinding as part of the future scheme development, but ultimately, yes, there will be 2 options to access between bus and rail, rail and bus, either via Swan Street or by the side of the churches. But we'll have to consider wayfinding, because we appreciate at the moment the arrival at the train station. It isn't easy to navigate your way into the town centre. So we'll be taking all of that into consideration completely.
And this is subject to further funding, Zoe?
Yeah, so the funding is available at the moment for the demolition work. So we'll be looking at additional funding moving forward to implement the public realm works, any wayfinding and any additional schemes, etc.
Have we already applied for that funding, or is it in the pipeline?
It'll be in the pipeline. We've had discussions with funders. The connectivity scheme is one of the strategic projects within our placemaking plan, so Welsh Government are fully aware of the importance of this scheme, particularly following the build of our new bus interchange. So, discussions have been ongoing, but funding is always applied for in a phased way then, so discussions will commence shortly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Chair. Only clarified, is there any truth that the rail station is being moved from the other side of the bridge? Because people are talking about it in town now.
Not as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if
Right.
anyone else on the call has any further information, but I haven't heard anything along those lines, Councillor.
Yeah. There's more people talking about that, so I want to know. Okay, great. For me to know. Answering back.
Okay. Any other questions on page 39? No, not. We're on to page 40, which includes the dueling, A465 dueling, and off it on the page, Cyfarthfa Master Plan.
Yeah,
Any
can I
questions?
make a comment on the dueling first?
No. Sorry, Bill. We're on questions.
No,
questions.
no, a question. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll come back to it. All right.
Okay. If no question on page 40. Page 41.
Oh, sorry. Cyfarthfa Master Plan.
Yeah.
Are they starting to work now shortly and that to start working on the castle, or it's been delayed again?
No, so works are due to commence shortly on the drainage scheme for the castle, with further works to follow later in the year. So just for everyone's awareness, we have secured funding to take these schemes forward. We're just awaiting the finalisation of the grant awards, and once received, we'll be bringing a detailed report through full council to provide a detailed update on developments at the castle as well.
So what's the time limit on that, Joe? Is that shortly, or are we going to wait to the end of the financial year?
I would like to think by the end of the calendar year. If not at the end of the calendar year, very early in the new year.
Okay, thank you very much.
But just as a matter of information for the members on the drainage works, because that's obviously in the Park Ward, Councillor Minute, Vaux and myself have been told in writing that the cost of this work is £993,000 to bring that drainage up to modern day standards and to avoid any future flooding, because as you know, there was flooding there last year, or certainly a while ago, and houses lower down were flooded. So that work, we've been told, is due to start by the end of this month. And the £4.5 million, Zoe, that's been spent on the what they call the mansion outside of the castle, that's already started, isn't it? Because we're already doing the Pont Cyfarthfa bridge there at the moment as part of that money.
No, so we've secured a separate grant for Pont Cyfarthfa.
All right.
So that scheme has started and is due to conclude shortly. The drainage works will commence at the end of this month or very early next month. So that'll be the second phase. And then the third phase then will hopefully start towards the end of the calendar year.
Right. Okay.
So it was all due to be part of the same funding package, but we had a separate grant then from the same funder for Pont Cyfarthfa.
Okay. Oh, thank you for clarifying that. I didn't know that. Okay. Right. We're on page 41 now. The Taff Bargard regeneration and the neighbourhood learning centre development. Any questions there? Gareth, you're on mute. Gareth, you want to say something, Gareth?
My apologies, Clive. I didn't realise I was on mute. Zoe, any update, please, on the Taff Bargard regeneration, please? Hello?
Sorry. Yes, so at the moment, there are no regeneration works ongoing in Taff Bargard. I do believe that the team are reviewing the action plan, councillor, to bring back to the partnership for discussion. But I suppose one of the key elements on the action plan that we are creating is that, you know, we'll deliver this opportunity in conjunction with partners as well. So we'll be looking at what those opportunities are and what potential funding can be secured to deliver key projects from within that action plan. I'm happy to get more of a specific timescale on when the action plan's due to be brought back to the partnership outside of the meeting, if that's okay, because I haven't got that information to hand right now.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Zoe.
Okay, Gareth?
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on page 41?
Chair,
No?
can I?
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Got a question, Councillor Smith?
Oh, okay, wrong one.
Right. Right. We're on to page 42, which includes the Tydfil site there. Any questions there? If not, we got a page 43. Middle of the page there is the Hoover's site. Can I just, it says in the second paragraph under the heading oversight, the provision of a new station and strategic park and ride facility as part of the master plan remains as an aspiration of the council. I was under the impression that this is always part and parcel of that oversight development, but the operative word here is it'll be an aspiration, because I think they were intimating in one stage that they would put the railway station higher up than where it is at the moment, higher up the track. But that's an aspiration and not something that's a definite part of the plan, Zoe?
No, I don't believe it's definitely a part of the plan, because we'd be reliant on key stakeholders to be driving that initiative forward. Again, on that, council, I'll have to take that offline and provide further detail back to committee, if that's okay, if we want a further
Yes.
update on what could be happening with the strategic park and ride facility and new station down there, because I haven't been involved in discussions on that for some time, so
Right.
I believe it might have gone a bit sort of cold at this point.
Okay, if you could do that, I think the whole Swing committee would be helpful if you could appraise us of that.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Okay. Nothing else on page 43? Not. We've gone on page 44. Any questions there? I've got one there for clarification. This is the heading is extra care facility. And you're talking about the housing scheme up at the Georgetown Plateau, adjacent to the Keiradi Health Park, as currently being considered as a potential site for this development. Site subject to Welsh Government clawback following the receipt of previous grant funding to undertake the reclamation works. Site investigation works commenced July 25. We're waiting the full report and findings to ascertain the suitability and viability of the site and the scheme. I know this was first mooted several years ago, because it would be an ideal site, particularly on the same plot of land as the health facilities.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, I know there's a car park will be in between, but it's as close as you can get to extra care facilities. So my question really is, I've been reading the report there, it's subject to investigation works and the suitability and the viability of the site. So this may not happen, is my assumption. Am I correct?
We are still awaiting the final site investigation report, but the initial draft report shows that there are no real sort of red flags in relation to the SI. So currently it's looking positive in terms of viability to bring that scheme forward. So at this point in time, from the initial draft, we don't think there are going to be any sort of major showstoppers on that site. So then that will enable us to progress further forward.
Great. Thank you for that. No other query on page 44? No, page, sorry. Oh, sorry, Anna, sorry, a big one.
Thanks, Chair. If I could just come in, because I'm conscious obviously I'm leaving soon, and I appreciate the interest on the major project section of this report. But could I just ask, in terms of follow-up actions, if consideration could be given about which committee is best placed to deal with those follow-ups, because obviously a lot's been raised on the regeneration side, for example, and then obviously subsequently social care, and if consideration be given whether those are best dealt with in separate reports to those committees, it might be more useful in terms of the feedback received. Thank you.
We'll take that point on board, Anna. Thank you. Page 45. Any questions there? No. Page 46, we're under the heading of green infrastructure, open spaces and biodiversity. So there's updates there on page 46 and on page 47. Any questions or queries? Page 46, 47? No? And also on page 48. No questions there? Not. We take it to the action plan 21 to 26, and we now on page 50. Any questions on here? Anyone? No? Not page 51. That's dealing with housing, and particularly the Marsh House, which is on stream, and the Tregenna Hotel development, which I understand is they're going to become available on stream hopefully sometime next year, the middle of next year. Nothing on there. Page 52. Any questions? I've got a question there, and these paragraphs are numbered. So it's a paragraph 9, a heading implement agile working, and it says on the update part of it, a staff consultation has been undertaken to understand what issues have been experienced and will inform phase 2 of the project. Phase 2 will include a review of meeting rooms, committee stroke member spaces, and the reception area of the civic centre. A new council operating model forms part of the transformation plan, and the details of this is necessary to inform the phase 2 requirements. Just a query on my part, will councillors be included in that consultation as well as staff? And I mean all councillors.
Yes, that's the intention. As part of that phase 2, all members will be consulted as part of that. We aren't quite ready to take that phase 2 forward yet, because we do need to understand what that operating model is going to look at, and it could very well impact on whatever we do as part of that phase 2.
Right. So as long as we are assured that councillors will be involved in the consultation, thanks. Don't go off screen, because I've got a question which is right underneath number 9, number 10. And it says there to regularly review the building management performance data, including the running costs and maintenance costs, and establish a corporate property group manager, in brackets, asset management. How often, Lisa, does the corporate property group meet?
That's actually my title because I take responsibility for that action.
Right. So it says the corporate property group, but I misread it.
Okay.
I thought it was another group. Okay. So sorry about that. We're on to page 53 now. Any questions on there? I just want to highlight this, trying to ensure this in the form of a question. At number 12, it says to date we have spent 22,000 on water loggers and identified over 254,000 pounds worth of water leaks. So that is in relation to water loggers being installed, and you're talking about the required at Yscol Graig, Bishop Headley, Penedray, Thomaston House. And you've got water loggers at 24 the largest sites. Is it the intention to install water loggers on every site where there's a water supply? Who's going to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Trey.
Right.
Yeah, so we've only got a certain amount of budget, so we've had to prioritise our largest water consumers. I think we'd like to install more where budget allows. I said it's all down to the funding. It costs around, I'd have to get the current cost. I think it's around £600 per year per site to install a logger. So yeah, it's definitely worth it, but it's just sometimes there's laws of diminishing returns if you're not spending much on water, for example, in a changing room or a smaller property. So we just need to be sensible on where we're putting the loggers, really. A lot of the leaks are relating to like silly things like leaking cisterns in schools, which are smaller value leaks, which the loggers highlight us to because we get sort of alarms sent to us via email. But we found some huge leaks in some of our sites where without the loggers we would have never, or would have taken around 6 months to find out about the leak. So yeah, they're a good technology.
So unless you had the water loggers, you wouldn't have found them there. Are the buildings you're talking about there, Ian, are they on water meters?
Yeah, they're all on water meters. But sometimes it'll take 6 months for Welsh Water to go out and take a meter reading and find out there's an issue. Whereas with the water loggers, we get highlighted, we get an email within a day or two that there's an increase in water usage. The other issue we get, which is slightly different, is, for example, I don't know, Cyfarthfa Park, that might have had a leak for 30 years. So Welsh Water don't see that difference in consumption. So you can't really identify it. We get like a daily profile, so we can see if the site's using, for example, I don't know, 200 litres of water at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we know there's a historic leak there, and we can try and rectify it.
Right, and it's very interesting. So we concentrate in the water loggers on the largest sites, and we haven't installed them on all those 24 sites, but we've got a program, have we?
Yeah, we have got a program. We need to install them on some of our newer properties. For example, the new not Beat, I know it's changed from Blessed Carlos Acutus now, isn't it?
Bishop Headley.
yeah, the old Bishop Head or the new Bishop Headley, we need to install loggers on. The new Penedray, we need to install loggers on. But that should be sorted via the rolling programme.
Right. Okay. That's great. Thank you for that. Any other queries, questions on page 53? Not page 54? Anything there? Not page 55? On to 56 now, under the heading targets and performance indicators. Any questions there? Page 57? No, page 58 is blank. 59? Any questions there?
Chair, my apologies. Can I go back to one a second?
Which page are you on, Gareth? You know?
Bear me a second now. It's number 57.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's the one relating to total carbon dioxide emissions.
Yeah.
Have I misunderstood this? If I'm going to answer, obviously we are looking for a reduction, but in the current or the previous year, 24-25, there was an increase.
Yeah.
So that's not hitting the target or going against the target considerably.
Yeah. Who's
Am I understanding that correctly?
yeah? Well, you've got a question there. Who's gonna try and answer that one?
Yeah,
I think Ian's gonna try and answer it.
I can take that.
Yeah.
So because of the reason for the increase is because of the Merthyr, the leisure trust properties becoming part of our sort of reporting portfolio now, and the two sites that have sort of been the main reasons for the increase are Aberfan and Merthyr Leisure Centre swimming pools. Sort of they're huge users of energy, and they pushed our figures up.
Right.
Okay, Gareth.
Yeah. Obviously
Okay.
gives the reason why. Is there anything work being done with them to look to reduce that?
Right.
Yeah, we've already done an awful lot in Merthyr Leisure Centre particularly. In the past 2 years, we've reduced the energy consumption there by around 50% because of solar PV and LED lighting. Aberfan is one building where we could probably do more with the investment. So yeah, I think say that increase is simply because of the increase in floor area and heat in our swimming pool, really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right. Well, Councillor Barry.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I wasn't going to pick this up, but as Councillor Richards has mentioned it, back to Ian, I suppose. Who sets our carbon reduction target then?
Yeah, like most other councils, we try and work in line with the Welsh Government targets. So they've set us a target of sort of a net zero operational emissions by 2030, which is we've done a bit of work recently, and that's very, very difficult to achieve. Impossible, really, because we need 30-40 million pounds to do that. So we probably need to set our own internal targets as well, something a bit more realistic, I would say.
I mean, in terms of the finance connected, this is a bit of a pet thing of mine. Do you know what the global level of carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere?
No, not off the top of my head, I wouldn't know.
Okay, so it's 0.04%. And of that 0.04%, emissions by us, not just Merthyr Tydfil, but by the human race, is 11% to 0.04%, which is, and when you consider that China and India are contributing massively to that, our contribution is negligible. And the reason I bring that up is because if there's a financial element to this, we need to start questioning what we're doing with carbon dioxide reduction. Scientists will tell you with very little research that in terms of carbon dioxide, we're having a bit of a drought of it on the planet at the moment, apparently. And it's just, we need to question these things. If there's a financial element to it, we've got to question. I know we follow Welsh government, but we need to be questioning when there's a finance element attached to it, whether we should actually be doing this. Should we be worried about our carbon dioxide going up at all, to be honest? And if you do a little research on it, it backs up the idea, no, we shouldn't be doing anything about it. So it's just to have a broader view of where we are with carbon dioxide. It does alarm you, and I see we've got to reduce our carbon dioxide when it goes against the scientific community, to be honest. Thank you, Chair.
I thought there was a question in there, but
the question was, does Ian know our carbon dioxide?
Yeah.
And he said, I agree, Chair, but...
I would just say with the sort of the Welsh government targets are a bit ridiculous. Whatever we do, we need a sensible commercial or a balanced commercial approach. To date, we've always done that. So we've done projects that save us money and also carbon dioxide. What we got to be careful of is us doing projects that are gonna reduce our carbon emissions but not pay back for 50 years, which isn't really a sensible approach. There needs to be a financial element attached to this where we're going to make financial savings as well.
Well, I would suggest we don't need carbon dioxide reduction. That's what I'm suggesting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Still in the same page, Ian, you can turn your camera back on for this question. And it refers to the agreement being signed with Cwm Taf Organic Health Board for the sale of excess energy generated from the new solar panels by Pedidray High School, and that's been sold on then to Prince Charles Hospital with a commencing date of February next year. So the money that's been paid in for that facility from the health board, where does that go? Does the money go into the school's budget, or does it go into council central pot? Can somebody tell me?
Yeah, do you want to pick that up, Chris?
Yeah, do you want me to take this one?
Yep.
At the moment, the money's coming to Merthyr Council, the generated income, with a ring-fenced amount in that income, especially for the maintenance of the solar array. Because there's some hefty switch gear going into that site that actually switches. When the school isn't calling it for electric, they'll switch it over to the hospital. As you can imagine, they're not cheap bits of kit, they need regular servicing. So we will be ring-fencing some of that money that's been generated for the maintenance of that array and switch gear going forward.
Right, you've answered the point. Apart from the spending on that, it will go into the rest of it, monies will go into the council's exchequer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's no other question on page 59. We're on page 60 now. Anything else there? Page 61. Heading there, accommodation of individuals with multiple complex needs. Explains all that there. Page 62. And then on this one, it's numbered paragraph 6, so on page 62. It says this is about the provision of budgets either to occupied departments or corporately to be able to meet land management / maintenance costs. Progress against this action has been delayed due to a lack of capacity within the statutory compliance / maintenance team. Continued reduction / no increase to maintenance budgets is also an issue. So that's what I referred to earlier on about how we go about complying without statutory compliance if we haven't got sufficient staff. But Chris, we've been assured that that's been looked at, about the staffing requirements.
Yeah, so the staffing requirement at the moment, as Craig mentioned earlier, we are doing a business case and we're looking to expand the service. The statutory compliance at the moment is being done. It's more the backlog maintenance and managing the backlog maintenance. That's where we're struggling with capacity. Statutory maintenance is being picked up, and our statutory surveys are being done. Our regular statutory services, statutory maintenance is being done. Sorry,
yeah,
teeth back in.
Yeah. So when will that business case? When will that surface? When is that going to wherever?
We're finalising the business case first, and we'll be taking it to Craig for him to view and look at it and guide us a bit on it as well before it goes to council.
Right. That'll end up in a council report at some time, Chris. Yes. Right. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Anything else on page 62? No. Page 63. 64. Page 65. No, nothing. Page 66 is blank. We now on to the corporate asset management plan, performance indicators for 23 to 28. Any queries on there? Page 67. No, not. We're on to page 68, which is blank. And now we're on to page 69, which is the disposal strategy. And that's, so again, I'll go through that page by page. Shout out if you want to ask a question. Page 69. And this strategy is dated September 2025. Page 70. Page 71.
Sorry, Chair. Andrew Barry.
Councillor Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. What I'm not seeing in this is occupancy levels in terms of our buildings. Thinking specifically of floors in the civic and that type of level of occupancy, really. I mean, we can talk about agile working, but agile working is a consequence, and the consequence is we don't need as much floor space as we do when we're at full occupancy. And I'm not seeing the equation in here for how we justify what's for disposal and how we rationalise our agile working against availability of assets that we manage. Can somebody pick that up and explain to me, is that level of detail looked at, or are we just generally looking at a building? And if we are looking at buildings in general, how specific are we in terms of occupancy and disposal?
Who's going to answer that one?
Shall I pick that up, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes, so certainly in terms of the agile working, we look in detail at the floor areas there, and our ratios in terms of, desks per person. And you'll see in the performance indicators that we have a target to reduce our space occupied per person to 5 square metres. We're still a bit over that at the moment, so there is definitely potential to go back and review some of our agile working practices to, to continually increase those ratios, because we're not even down to 2 desks per person, 2 people per desk at the moment, which should be a fairly easy ratio to achieve. But we do collect that data, and in fact we are just about to refresh the data that we have with directors to get some up-to-date information, because clearly staff numbers change over time. But yes, we do collect that data.
It would just, sorry, Chair, but it would just appear that that would be the data that would inform how we move forward. And I don't typically hear anything as a member in terms of our occupancy. Is it? In fact, I've never heard it in terms of our occupancy is at a level because our agile working is at this level. And I say that because it goes back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of repurposing or disposal. The figures that we're talking about are phenomenally high, and for me there's an urgency in terms of matching the data to the speed of action to react to where we go where we go forward from here. So it just doesn't appear there's any correlation between the two, and it's not spoken of very often. So it was just I know we may be looking at it, but how does that translate to urgency of action for us to operate and avoid the costs, the phenomenal £43 million, which is just in backlog of maintenance? To me, that's a real concern and a real urgency, because as Craig alluded to earlier, that now has to be translated into capital borrowing, and that capital borrowing has an effect on our revenue figures. And going into this next budget setting round, that's an urgent requirement. So we need to be linking these things far quicker than we are to action them, because the figures are huge, and we need to take the information and translate it and move on that action. Thank you, Chair.
Lisa, do you want to come back on that, or anybody?
Yeah, just one additional thing to add to that. We've been doing property review for quite a long time, actually, and we work closely with all the service directorates to match the property that they need, for their service delivery. And as soon as any opportunities come up to release any property, then, we deal with that quickly. Like I said earlier, the vast majority of our buildings are providing services, and anything that isn't required for service delivery, we either lease out for the community to have benefit from it, or sell or lease it in some other way to raise income and funds for the authority. I take your point in terms of the office portfolio. I think there is more that we can do around that. Certainly in terms of releasing more space at Unit 5, and we need to go back and review our agile working practices to intensify the use of the civic as an example. So I take that point, yeah.
And just to focus on that finally, Chair, I think the figures that Craig is going to provide us with in terms of the profile of rescheduling £43 million and what that relates to in terms of a revenue hit will really focus the minds on exactly what we're talking about here. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith?
Sorry. Allocating housing development, can somebody tell me they want to build 40 units on Penrave Fields? Because I was up there this week to have a look at it, and it's no bigger than a postal stamp, and there's water running everywhere off the old pond. So somebody tell me, is it going there, or is it a certain idea?
Who can answer that question?
Judith's left.
Yeah, Judith's left.
It's on 71 years, Chair.
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Shall I come in on that, Chair?
Yeah, okay then.
Yeah, that is a question for Judith actually, and she'll know the detail around those allocations in the LDP. The purpose of bringing this disposal strategy to scrutiny today, I think it was specifically requested. In us drawing up that strategy, one of the key pieces of information that we will look at is the LDP. So there's an extract from the LDP in our strategy that just sets out the main areas that we are looking for residential development, and then we map that out against land that is within our ownership and try and bring those sites forward. What I would say is that things obviously change over time, and whilst those may be allocated in the LDP at the moment, they may not still be suitable for development. Obviously, Judith will be able to give a bit more information, but just for you to understand the context of why that extract is in our disposal strategy.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll accept everything you're saying. But that was it's a playing area. There's a kids' playground there. So didn't anybody double check the playing area and anybody else is on top of it? Anyway, thank you very much.
Councillor Smith, we will, as it's been raised by yourself, we will pass that question on to Judith George and Craig Watkins as head of planning, so that you can have the answer.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Okay. So this part of it, the disposal strategy, is 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. So has anyone else got any questions on the rest of the disposal strategy? No? If not, we'll then go on to page 75 and 76, which is the community organisation rental policy. Anybody got any queries on that? No? Right. Thank you for your patience. It was a rather detailed report. Has anyone got any comments that they wish to make on the report? No.
Chair, sorry, I'm just slow. The age is kicking in now one at a time. Can I thank all the officers who got involved with this report, because it's very interesting, to be honest. The way they save the council money, or the ratepayers' money, what's happening, what developments are happening in the next couple of years. To myself, I'm very interested in the plan, the idea they're taking it forward. I thought it was very good, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You stole my thunder. I was just about to
sorry, Chair, I know you're the boss.
Sorry. Thank you, Lisa, and all the officers who have been on screen waiting for the questions and answering them all. Thank you for that on behalf of the committee. You don't have to stay for the rest of the agenda. You can if you want to, but the report, we go back to the overarching report. I can find it. Right. The purpose of the report was 2.1 for scrutiny to consider the updates of the action plan and the key performance indicators and raise any issues or queries as necessary. And 2.2 for the scrutiny committee to note the refreshed asset management plan the disposal strategy, and the updated community organisation rental policy. I think we've covered both those items. Are you all happy? And if you are, to raise your hands or virtual hands to agree that we've dealt with that on page 2.1 and 2.2. Thank you. That's been agreed. As I said, I would say again, the officers can save the rest of the report and the agenda, but you don't have to. Thank you for your attendance.
Chair.
Okay. All the best. Right, if we can then go on to the work programme, forward work programme, that's page 77 to 92. This is pretty well up to date. Neil, is there anything that you wish to update us about or point out to the scrutiny committee?
Only recent changes, Chair, is just the healthy organisation strategy being added to the scrutiny February.
Yeah.
And the social partnership report being added to the scrutiny in April.
Yeah.
That's been the main recent changes.
The whole committee's been notified of that. Yeah. There's nothing else then that you want to update us with?
No, nothing. Double check myself, but no, not at this point. No.
Okay. Has anybody got any questions? Councillor Smith?
Oh, sorry, man. No, everything's all right. I'm quite happy.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Right. If we're all okay with that, let me go on to item 7. That's the scrutiny referrals. To consider referrals put forward for inclusion in the scrutiny forward plan. We haven't had any. We haven't got any, have we? No, we haven't had any. Right. And item 8, feedback on scrutiny activities. I don't think we've got anything specific.
No,
I haven't got anything there in particular for anyone. And item 9, any other business deemed urgent by the chair. I haven't got any. Can I thank you all for your attendance? I know it's taken a bit of time, but we went through a very detailed report, and thank you all for your attendance. Cheerio. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night, all.
Thanks, Chair.
That